Okay, so this week, Amber Guyger's appeal has been heard by the court. Her lawyers went to court and is attempting to get her murder conviction overturned. They're saying that it should have qualified as um, because she thought it was her apartment, so it shouldn't have counted as murder. I think he used the castle doctrine, or is attempting to use the castle doctrine, which is absurd because it wasn't her castle. But it is looking like that's what he's attempting to do. And the the interesting thing is, I think the appeal is going to fail. But I wanted to take a look at the past videos I had done. One video I had done, which was as the end of the trial was approaching, and I thought for sure she was going to get acquitted. Fortunately, I was wrong. And the second video we'll look at is the video I did after she was convicted. And after she was convicted and sentenced. And so we could compare what happened then, remind everybody what happened with the Amber Guyger Botham Jean, because a lot has happened since then. Um, and, hey, people have lives and they're going on with their lives and they may not remember the details. But then we're going to basically discuss what I think is going to happen with the appeal.
I thought this was my apartment. But guess what? She's going to get off. Like, I can see it already just from what I'm telling you about with the game the media is playing in terms of dropping the alleged. And I've noticed this for a while that the media has been doing this. They weren't saying she allegedly went to the wrong apartment.
And that was one of the things that I really noticed. Because her saying that it was a mistake that she went to the wrong apartment wasn't fact. That was her defense. That was her claim. But they never acknowledged it as being a claim, as being her defense. They acknowledged it. They treated it as if it was a fact. Like, we don't know that. And even if the prosecutor isn't trying to prove that, we don't know that. Like, and logic and reason will say that if you're an objective journalist, you should be saying she claims that she went to the wrong, like, that's what you should be saying. She claims that she went to the wrong apartment and thought it was her apartment when she opened fire on Botham Jean. That's what should have been said. That's not how the media treated it. So the fact that she did get convicted, I think, was in spite of the media, not because of the media, not thanks to the media. And I believe the media was really trying to run cover for her. However, with her appeal now upon us, with Amber Guyger's appeal now upon us, you see, this is clearly before her verdict. This was my opinion. Had the 2020 been a different year, my opinion right now of how this appeal would go would be different. So, like, had her appeal happened early last year, before George Floyd, I think she gets the appeal granted. Post George Floyd, post the protest, post the protest, post the riots, post the lockdowns, post the insurrection, post the guilty verdict of Derek Chauvin, I think they uphold her conviction. However, they're not, from what is being claimed, they're not making the decision right away. They're waiting to June. If it happens next week, like, I got to see them upholding the conviction, because, and because remember, now this is judges. and I know I'm thinking it's a panel of 3 judges. I've got to double check that, but I think it's a panel of 3 judges. So they can take a lot of things into consideration, including the appearance of impropriety. They can take a lot of things into consideration, being government officials, that juries will generally take into consideration, because juries, they're given instructions, and people tend to, oh no, well, they told me I have to do this, so I have to do this, not realizing that if you just shut the hell up, nobody knows what your thought process is, and you can do whatever you want to. So like jury nullification is a thing. You can choose to just not you can choose to just not go along with a verdict, and okay, who knows the difference. But with judges, they can make decisions based on political concerns, and they're seasoned enough to know, I just have to shut the hell up. If I don't say anything about what motivated me making this decision, nobody's the wiser. I can make up anything to cover it. So these judges can take into consideration the current political climate and the potential of what will happen if they choose to overturn her murder conviction. Because more than George Floyd, even though we watched the 9 minutes of George Floyd, a knee on George Floyd's neck, but then you have your demagogues who came out there and wanted to talk about George Floyd's past, the crimes that he served time for, he was convicted of and served time for. He was punished for those crimes. But they want to use that as a defense as to why, because, and they'll say, oh no, well, we're not saying it justifies his, then why are you bringing it up? Because we're talking about George Floyd being killed by Derek Chauvin, but you're bringing up the fact that he committed an armed robbery, home invasion on a woman, for which he was convicted and sentenced and punished for. He served his time. He got out. It's in the past. And it's amazing that the people who always want to forget about the past, in certain cases, can't let the past go. But if you take a look at George Floyd, if you take a look at Ma'Khia Bryant, once again, who, in my opinion, and just based on what we saw in that body cam, it appeared to be a justified shooting. These are different cases. George Floyd, who had a criminal history. George Floyd, who allegedly was trying to buy something with a counterfeit $20 bill. Ma'Khia Bryant, who had a knife, who was attempting to stab somebody. Botham Jean was like a literal choir boy. Like, he was a church-going man who was well known in his church, well loved and well respected in his church, and who was in his own home eating ice cream. He was in his home eating ice cream when this cop walks into his home, his apartment, and shoots him to death and murders him in his own apartment. Like, if her conviction is overturned, like, how I said, I did a video talking about this, like, listen, we need to be calm. We need to not, right? Like that. If her conviction overturned, I would want to riot. Like, I'm not saying I will, but I would understand. I would be pissed. Like, that would make me absolutely furious. And that's why if you see me in this video, I'm pissed because I really think she's going to get acquitted. I really thought she was going to get acquitted at this time. Fortunately, she wasn't. But they these judges know what will happen. I mean, they have got to know, like, no, especially not this one. Like, don't play with this one. Like, this dude did like nothing. Not like you have no justification, not enough, like not that you do with these other cases, but this is just as the most egregious examples of just like what? Like he's in his house eating ice cream. So yeah, I do not see the judges overturning this verdict. Unless they I do not see it happening. So this time, I was wrong about her being acquitted. I thought she was going to be acquitted. She was convicted. I was wrong about Chauvin being acquitted. I thought he was going to be acquitted. He was convicted. I better be right about them not overturning her conviction.
After she took the stand, I mean, I feel so bad for her. She's really, 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 really sorry. In fact, she says she's so sorry. She wishes he had had the gun and he had killed her. Except he didn't have the gun. He didn't have a gun, and she was never in any danger from him. The only person in danger was him from her, and he's dead because of her. But she actually sat on the stand and said that she wishes he had killed her. He couldn't have, and then that was never an option. That was never something that was going to happen, him killing her.
And that's another thing. Her crocodile tears on the stand pissed me off to no end. Um, like seriously, it was absurd. Her like and she was lying now, right? And this is a clear example that she was lying because she says she wishes it could have been her. So she wishes she could have been dead and he'd be alive. However, she's not even willing to do the 10 years and the less than 10 years because it's not 100% sentence. So well, a lot of people don't realize this. Once you get a sentence, a criminal sentence, there's time that you, depending on the system, there's some systems that have parole that allow you to get out early, pending, a board determining that you've like learned your lesson and you're doing well enough that they think you'll be able to go back into society and acclimate. And then in some cases, they just have good time provisions where as long as you're not getting into trouble in prison, boom, they'll cut time off your sentence, and so you won't actually have to do the full 100% time that you were sentenced to. So I'm not sure how much, but I think they've said like 5 to 7 years is what she would be looking at anyway. So she wouldn't even she'd have at least 3 years knocked off, and so I'm like, you're not even willing to do that, but that you sat on the stand and lied that you would rather be dead and let him be alive. Like, no, you're not even willing to do your time. So like that was a bold-faced lie, and I knew it was a lie, but some people actually acted like they believed it.
That's like that in itself, and nobody's like calling her out on that complete and utter is infuriating. She wishes he had, like, the implication there of I wish he had killed me is that as if that was the choice. Like, no, that wasn't the choice. It was either you kill him or you leave him alone in his apartment, bothering no one. Like, you were the threat. You were the only threat there. There was no maybe he was a threat, maybe you were a threat. No, only you were the threat. He was no threat to you or anyone else. He was in his apartment by himself, minding his business. But she wishes he had killed her. The gall of these cops. It's astounding.
Yeah, that's another point I forgot to mention. Like that was some real subtle that was a real subtle like smear of acting as if that was there was a duality, there was a choice, either her or him, and like she wishes it would have like no, he was unarmed. He was armed with a spoon and his ice cream. That's what he was armed with. You had the gun. He's like I can just imagine him mid scoop, like what the, wondering who the hell is, and then her just opening fire on him. Like it's crazy. It makes no sense. But like she really did this real subtle smear and trying to put a picture in people's heads as if it was actually an option, as if that was an actual possible outcome of the situation of him killing her. Like if she didn't pull the trigger, then instead she would have been dead, and that's what she would have rather happened. But no, if she didn't pull the trigger, he'd have been like, who the hell are you? Like, and he may have welded this because we don't actually know how long it took for her to pull the trigger. And he actually could have said, what are you doing in my house? Like, what? Who are you? Like, or if he knows her, and if he knew, like, what are you doing here? Like, why are you, like, what do you like? Don't shoot me. Like, what? What? Stop. Like, we don't know exactly what his last words were. She does, but we do know that she wasn't in danger of being killed by him. We know that she was the threat.
Also, she breaks down in tears. Tears, allegedly. She allegedly breaks down in tears to say that she wishes her life. She feels so guilty. She wishes she does. She feels she doesn't deserve to be with her family and her friends. And I'm like, you could have pleaded guilty. Like you, like in fact, you still can. You can still withdraw your not guilty plea and plead guilty if that's what you want. That option is available to you. You you can do that at any time, woman. At any time, you can plead guilty. Like the mental gymnastics, it's ridiculous.
And somebody should have called her out on that. Somebody should have said, wait a minute, if you don't think you deserve to be with your family, you can plead guilty right now. You can plead guilty and say, I will accept whatever sentence the court provides. You can plead guilty and say, hey, I want this sentence. I want 20 years. You can do that. If you truly feel you don't deserve to be with your family, you can make that happen right now. You could have made that happen months ago, months before the trial began. You could have saved the government money of actually trying this case, and you could have pled guilty if you truly believed and felt that you did not deserve to be with your family. But she didn't do any of that. And now she's appealing.
But it's clear what's going to happen. She's going to get off. She's going to get acquitted, and people are going to be, oh. But I mean, seriously, you've got to see the case from the prosecution. I really want to know what the investigation turned up because I feel that there's much better information that could have been turned up instead of she's just having an affair. Like just having the affair in and of itself, like what does that have to do with her murdering this dude in his apartment? Now, if there are some ties between her lover and Botham, that is something that would be interesting. I don't know if that's I haven't seen any of that put forward, so it's I don't know if they found anything like that. But if there was some ties, like then that would make sense. Otherwise, It's like the prosecutor is really just trying to do this for show, and they have no real desire or intent to to convict her. They have none. Um, and her, like, man, yeah, this I can see where this is headed already, and people are gonna be pissed. But I know this is happening, and that's why I say, I mean, it's time to stop. It's time to free ourselves of this delusion that the government is here to protect us, that the police are our friends. Like, no, they are part of a system. The system protects itself, and at any given point, people, the enforcers within that system, can do what they want and be held unaccountable because they are part and parcel of the system. Yeah, so get ready for this not guilty verdict that will be coming within the next week, I'm guessing, and get ready for the protest and the outrage that's coming, and get ready for the same people that are outraged to then call for more laws and gun control and all kinds of other ridiculous stuff that takes power out of our hands and puts us at the mercy of people like Amber Guyger. Thank you for checking out this episode. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe.
In fact, let's take a look at what I had to say after the conviction.
System, if you're a law enforcement agent, a politician, if you're involved, a prosecutor, judge, it's like there's a different set of rules. There's a different set of rules that apply to the people that run this and the people that are subject to this. And it blew so many people's minds. It blew my mind that she was actually convicted. Now, does that mean that, wow, we're in a new place in society and there's actually going to be justice equally meted out? No. This is one case. The makeup of the jury was particularly telling. Um, and we're at a, even though this happened, and it's a good thing, there's been so many other instances, and we can expect, unfortunately, that there will be so many other instances when there will be no accountability for the person, whether they're a cop, a prosecutor, a judge, especially a politician, especially if the person's a legislator. We can completely expect for the system to do what it does best and protect its own. Um, that's the reality. That's not necessarily the reality we have to be content with, but that's the reality we have to acknowledge, and then start doing things to do something about it. But yeah, so that was clearly a huge deal, uh, an unexpected turn of events. But then things got even more interesting. She got sentenced because the sentencing phase went on, and she got 10 years, which is not a lot of time. And to a person who's never been in prison, 10 years um, is a lot of time. But 10 years is not a lot of time. Let me keep this in perspective for a murder.
So yeah, I definitely think she already got a way less percent, because remember the prosecution was pushing for 28 years. The prosecution will claim to have been pushing for 28 years. Um, some may be under the impression that the prosecution didn't actually want a conviction. Some may be. I may be one of those people. But the prosecution said, "Oh yeah, 28 years," and she wound up getting 10 years, and then the other stuff happened. Oh, what other stuff? Well, I'm about to talk about it.
But then a couple of things that happened additionally, including her treatment, specifically referring to her treatment. including the bailiff, brushing her hair with her hand. Now, I've heard people saying she was checking for any kind of weapon or something she could commit suicide with, but that would be done before you get into the courtroom. Like seriously, that would be done before you get into the courtroom, if that's the case, or as you're being taken into custody. Yeah, because she was out on bonds. Yeah, so that would have been done like as she was being taken into custody. Um, but it goes further. The judge gave her a Bible, which um, I've heard similar events in terms of judges giving advice and trying to motivate a defendant to turn their life around. But the hug for the judge to come and hug the defendant is crazy. And it's not just the hug. I should say the hugs.
Yeah, the hugs. Like don't forget that. Don't forget that the judge and somebody else felt so bad that Amber Guyger had murdered a young man in his apartment who was bothering nobody, that they had to hug her. Uh, like the gall. Like, are you serious? Like, no, she killed him. She's the murderer, and y'all feel bad for her. The absurdity, the absolute absurdity. And now this woman is trying to get her murder conviction overturned. But yeah, you apparently some people fell for the crocodile tears.
But the judge's hug in itself is an issue of judge. You're supposed to be doing certain things and hugging the defendant. Yeah, that definitely seems like treatment not every defendant is afforded, a level of compassion that is not provided for every defendant. Um, so that's why it raises eyebrows. It does, and it should, because if you're not showing this type of compassion um, to all defendants, then why this one? And even though I don't necessarily think that hugs should be the type of compassion, if you really want to be compassionate, stop locking people in cages, particularly when we're dealing with nonviolent crimes. Particularly when we're dealing with instances of things that the government doesn't really have business legislating anyway. But the biggest hug of all is Botham John's brother um, getting off of the stand to hug Amber Guyger. You don't need to minimize it by like, okay, I feel so sorry for her because she's about to be held accountable for what she did. Like that's we that's what one of the things. That's why I have such an issue with it, because it has broader implications of there's white people who are like, like she needs to be punished, like she needs to be held accountable. The white people who are furious that she only got 10 years. And so for his brother to step up and say, "Oh, I feel so sorry for her." You feel sorry for her? Your brother's dead. He's not coming back. Your family is deprived of your brother. That's it. It's over. Your family will never see your brother again. And so to take in that moment, this isn't about her, but you made it about her. This is about your brother's murder. You made it about her feelings. That was that was mind-boggling. That does not seem intelligent. That does not seem productive. And like I said, it lends to the to increase the likelihood and the tendency of people to minimize, Black lives and the impact upon Black lives of things like, you know, what the system does, systematic injustices, um, murders. This is there's already this trend that exists of this expectation that black people should be satisfied with something that no other group is willing to tolerate. Black.
Um, I guess it's a good thing that the family isn't isn't addressing the appeal, because who knows what would happen. I don't know. Is his brother still of the mindset that she's so sorry and she's trying to get a murder conviction overturned? Would he show up and be like, "Yes, yes, she suffered enough. This has been so hard on her," or would he finally have woken up and realized, "Wait a minute, she was lying. She was full of it. Those weren't real tears." Like maybe he figured it out by now. Maybe. I don't know. But I anticipate this appeal will be shot down. The murder conviction will not be overturned. She got off with a relatively light sentencing, I believe, anyway. And time will tell. But like I said, if I am wrong, and the sentence is overturned, I'm not advocating for it. But I know, like you want to see pissed off people. You want to see people pissed off. If this sentence is overturned, wow. And at this point, like I won't, as much as I will say, like for George Floyd and even if Chauvin wasn't convicted, as much as I would shrug, like people like, listen, what good is rioting gonna do? And I still don't think rioting will do any good. I will be able to understand it. So like I will be able to understand the anger, like it will, because it will blow my mind. But even though I will be unable to understand it, it won't solve anything. So if and I think that's a key. We need to prepare for the worst case scenario. If this case is overturned, if his conviction is overturned, there's something we need to do. We need to have a plan in place that doesn't involve destruction of our communities. Like that's we can't self-destructive, counterproductive reactions don't solve anything. We need a plan in place to actually effectuate change. And if it means going after politicians and getting them out of office, like coming up with a list of politicians, like just going to war with the political class and just getting them all, like replacing all of them, letting them know all of them are getting fired, each and every one of them, like putting them in fear of their jobs, because trust me, they will do anything to protect their jobs. And if we come after them, if we come after these elected judges, and like we need to go to war against the political class. And that's just one of the things it's going to take to actually effectuate change, because they're the bosses. They're calling the shots. They're directing these things to happen. They're allowing these policies to exist that protect the government and the state when they brutalize people and victimize people. And that they're the ones that need to be targeted. Their careers need to be targeted, and they need to be gotten out of office. But we need a plan to do that. And I will be dealing with more details about how we do that. So as always, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, like, share, subscribe. If you disagree with me, feel free to give me a thumbs down, but put in this comment section why you give me a thumbs down so I can address it either in the comment section or in a future video. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.